from Startup Monkey, come and talk a little bit about startup myths, metrics, and models. Okay?
Thank you. Right. I compress this down from about an hour presentation that I normally give at BarCamp every year. But there'll be plenty of time for questions and kind of offline comments later. Before you came here today, how many people looked up Startup Monkey or me? Google, LinkedIn, Facebook. You know me already, it doesn't count. Curiosity is the most important thing to have in a startup. It's what gets you to question the way things are today and gives you an idea for a new company, a new product, a new service. If you don't have curiosity, you really don't belong in the startup business because you always have to be challenging yourself and challenging the market. That's what makes a good entrepreneur, a good startup founder. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the myths that are out there. I'm going to talk a little bit about figuring out who you are and how you communicate that to the world. And we'll talk about some common things that you see, the common mistakes that people make when they're representing their company. And there we go. Myth number one, it's all about big risks. It really isn't. It's about solving big problems. There's risk involved in starting any business. But if you really want to be interesting in what you're launching, it's about really identifying with a problem and always keeping that top of mind. Have a whiteboard. Write that problem on your whiteboard. Revisit it every single day. It's very, very easy to get distracted by other things and bright, shiny objects. If you're always focused on the problem that you are solving and who you're solving it for, you'll be more grounded in what you do. It'll bring you back to reality. There are lots of things in business world, in the startup world, certainly in the startup ecosystem, that are there to distract you. There's lots of tools and there's lots of toys and lots of things that will have you chasing anything other than fixing that problem and the customers that are there. Number two, you need a business plan. No, you don't. Don't write a business plan. Don't have a business plan written for you. Never pay someone to write a business plan. It means you're expecting them to understand the problem better than you do. So don't write a business plan. Build your product, build your business. Don't open Microsoft Word. It will kill you. You need investors. No, you really don't. You need to build your product to prove that you've got something worth investing in. And your best investor is the customer that pays you for it. Always. If you get enough of those, other people will be clamoring to invest in your business and you can choose whether or not to take it at that point. Get people to sign an NDA. No. People need to hear about your idea. Don't tell them the secret sauce, but share your idea with as many people as possible. You need that feedback. You need to present that problem. You need to listen to other people's reaction to how you present that. That will make your idea better. That will tell you whether or not you should be in business or you should go back to your day job. And the build it and they will come. The idea that you know something better than the marketplace, and if you could just build it, people will flock to your door. That never works out. 1 in a million. Make sure you're soliciting feedback. Make sure you're talking to your potential customers, your potential competitors, all those different people. Get that feedback. Be curious about solving that problem before you build anything. 80% planning, 20% development. Developing the product is the easy part. We put technology too much on a pedestal and worry too much about finding a technical co-founder, getting programmers, offshoring, doing all sorts of crazy stuff that wastes money and time before you've actually figured out if you've got something there. So how do we measure a startup? I mean, it's very, very easy to get wrapped up in all sorts of different metrics that might sound good. Again, if you're writing a business plan, you're going to create a lot of stuff to fill that business plan with. And early on in the internet, it was clicks and eyeballs and users and downloads and all sorts of different things. All in the future, all things that are out there that you might speculate will be good at measuring your business, but really it's just a crystal ball. Really, they're just guesses. Really, it's just, I think the future is going to be so great. Let me tell you, let me take you on that journey into the future. And the future is so bright, you need shades. But you probably will not fool my 8-year-old with your business plan. You certainly aren't going to fool customers or investors. focus on the problem. Focus on the things that you know, and then figure out what you don't know, and then go test those assumptions. If you are going to do anything in a business planning mode, it should be writing down all the stuff that you do not know, and then figuring out a way to test those assumptions. Test the credibility of what your solution to that problem is going to be. And then the best way to do that is based on your own experience, or based on the experience of the customers that you're talking to. So again, don't look at the future. The future contains no information. It hasn't happened yet, and you're just making shit up. Look at your past. Look at your personal experience that got you to build that product or come up with that product. Turn around, look backwards, look at where you came from. That is how you validate that your problem is something worth solving. Don't look at the future, because again, you're just making up stuff. You're making up things that you think will be interesting for other people to listen to. Look at how you came up with the problem. You know, you're 20 or 30 years in a particular industry, or struggling over something, you know, in a hobby, something that you personally can identify with as your problem, and then go out and validate with other people that that's their problem as well. Nothing in the future is going to help you tell that story. If I tell people about a problem that you've been struggling with, and that maybe they've been struggling with, they can identify with it, they can empathize with that, and they may even listen to your product pitch about what you're building and give you some good feedback. So this guy, be this guy. It's all about what he has done, not about what he's going to do, but the credibility of what he has done. Think about credibility along a timeline. Again, backwards is everything that you've done, everything that you've accomplished, everything in your professional or personal career. That's your credibility. That's what lets you know you're on the right track. Everything in the idea, that's all in the future. So if you weigh yourself down with credibility, your idea has merit. If all you're doing is talking about the future and how much money you're going to make, again, you're just making stuff up. And the only person that feels good about that is you when you're reading your own business plan, because no one else is going to. History is your friend. It validates your idea. Turn around, figure out how you got to your problem, and then expand on that. We're here today. Everything in your business model, everything in your description of what you do is behind you. It's who you are. It's why you came up with that problem. And a little bit about what that problem is. Don't tell me when, unless I bought into this. Certainly don't tell me how, because I don't care. I don't care what technology you use to build it. I don't care what the industry is doing with technology. Tell me who you are, why you're credible enough to listen to, and what you're trying to solve. If I buy into that, then we can talk about the other things. If I don't buy into that, either your message is bad or I'm the wrong audience. One of those two things. And we can stop talking and go have coffee and do something else. Don't keep talking to me. Don't try to educate me. Okay, how'd that go? Marketing is a story, not a tool and not a toy. Marketing is not Twitter. Marketing is not Facebook. Marketing is not LinkedIn or all these other things that we want to glom onto because they're bright, shiny objects. But people keep using the word marketing, and it's not what they're selling. Marketing is about your story, your connection with the marketplace, your analysis of the marketplace and that audience, and what they are going to do with your product. If you don't have that connection, if you haven't figured that out, you don't have a product. You have a hobby. You have a widget. You do not have a product, and you certainly don't have a company. So, again, back to the balance. Everything left of that, everything that's happened to you is life. That's your credibility. Those are the things that you can bank on. Those are the things that you can use to support your idea. Everything to the right of today are just lies. Stuff that you're making up to make yourself feel good or make the market pay attention to you. Doesn't have any merit. You can have models about other businesses that have done that, say, my analogy is this industry or that product and how it got to market. But you're still validating it with history, not with stuff that you just make up. So, all the buzzwords that you can throw into it, all the technology you can throw into your pitch, all of the ideas in academia, leave them out. There's a time and place for that. Speaking of words you should use, my presentation at BarCamp every year is stupid shit that startups say, because we load our business plans and presentations with things like patent pending technology, we're pre-IPO, I have a unique and disruptive technology. I'm not sure when my slides got crushed right there. We load everything up in this trying to sound good, trying to sound smart. It has nothing to do with the value. Again, go back to the problem. Why did you decide to create a product or service and solve a problem? Talk about that with as few buzzwords as possible. You're not going to convince me with buzzwords. You are going to convince me by showing me that you understand the problem better than I do. So what an audience wants to hear when you're out there is why you built it. That's 75% of your message. Focus on that. Focus on getting them to understand that they have that same problem, or they don't and they're not your audience, and that's fine. Maybe a little bit about what you built. The bare bones. Not how you built it, but what you built. Is it software? Is it service? Something like that, so people can understand how they buy it. And then less than 1% of how you built it. I don't care. Don't try to dazzle me with technology. Tell me you're solving a problem and get me to buy into that. And if I'm interested, we can go down that path of technology or the products or the delivery channels and things like that later. But unless I'm not interested, then you're just talking to me again. You're just giving me buzzwords that I really don't care about. So, in summary, there are dumb questions. Make sure you ask them. Have as many assumptions about your business, about your market, about your product, about your competitors as you possibly can, and go and validate them all. Embrace the word problem. And there's a lot of in innovation and brainstorming discussions. So we don't call it a problem, we call it an opportunity. No, it's a problem. Embrace that there's a problem. If you don't have a problem, you don't have a product. You've got to fix something. The internet is lying to you about how easy it is to start a business. The internet is lying to you about how hard it is to start a business. The internet is basically lying to you about startups. Don't get too distracted with what you read out there. There's lots of tutorials, there's lots of self-help, there's lots of different things. Stay focused on your problem. Stay focused on why you want to create something. Stop using Steve Jobs quotes as an excuse to really make stupid decisions. Like, Steve Jobs never talked to a customer. Yes, he did. Steve Jobs didn't let the customers design the product, but he knew what customers wanted. He talked to them. He looked at problems. He interpreted the trends that were in the marketplace and how technology could solve that. If you don't connect with potential customers, if you don't connect with your potential audience, you're just sitting in a little box reinforcing what you believe about the product and not really validating that it is a viable product. And again, as I said before, marketing is 80% of the work. Go out there, find out who your market is, connect with them, get that feedback. Don't build anything until you know what you should build. There's a lot of things you can build. There's a lot of things that you could build. There's only certain things that you should build and then take to market. That's it. Got a couple of great events coming up. Questions? No questions? I either offended everyone in the room.
You explained everything so well.
Oh, no, that's not possible. I said questions. There have to be questions.
Any challenges? Oh.
Oh, okay. So I expect that. Yeah.
No, I was just thinking about a question. So why do so many people, when they're not succeeding, go to, we need to raise money? Because I see it a lot out in the community. That's like the first thing they'll go to instead of focusing.
You mean as a community?
Just in startups in general, it seems to be the biggest thing that they'll tell you they're not successful because of lack of money. But most of the time it's a lack of innovation, which you hit in your presentation, or really servicing the need.
Well, as a community, it's just naive. It's like, well, Silicon Valley's got all this money.
Right.
We don't have all that money. Therefore, our problem is all this lack of capital.
Right, you hear that all the time.
And that's just not true.
I agree.
I mean, there's lots of people building stuff in all of the different tech hubs that may or may not be raising money, but they're focused on the problem. Companies run out of focus way before they run out of cash. Their own cash, investor cash, it doesn't really matter. If you run out of focus, then it's just a downhill slide. Okay? If you're focused about what you're building, validating the market, and then eventually, slowly building the right thing, you'll be much wiser about how you use your resources and cash. And much less willing to say, well, I'm not going to build it. And a lot of that is just, we have a lot of people with ideas and very, very poor execution. So it's very easy to say, I would build this if someone would invest in it. You're not the guy that's probably going to execute on that.
Right.
And I heard that a lot when I was running TPTF's Entrepreneurial Academy 5-6 years ago. Person after person coming through. Help me raise this money, I'm going to build this. Help me raise this money. Well, what's your experience in that marketplace? Well, I don't have any. Well, did you slip in the shower and come up with this idea? I mean, how did you come up with the fact that this is a problem? No credibility, zero credibility. If you don't have credibility, you can forget about having cash. It's not going to be there. Go ahead.
What's the difference between Ignite and BarCamp?
I'm glad you asked. Ignite is a community event. It's like a TEDx event where people get up and talk about anything. So we'll have people talking about kids issues, health issues, you name it. You can go out and look at the videos that are out there on YouTube. You'll see stuff on guardian ad litem programs, Girls Inc. out of Sarasota. I can't give away what we're talking about this year, but marine life issue. I mean, just anything that people are passionate about. Robotics with kids. Developing our ecosystem here. We had Joe Lopano talk 2 years ago about transportation and the airport, things like that. But again, not selling the airport, but just really talking about how transportation can really be transformative to our community. So it's a feel-good event, lots of things there to basically just charge you up and get you going and get you involved. BarCamp is all tech. It's an unconference, so the people that show up there are the people that are the presenters. For Ignite, we actually have 20 selected presenters that we're coaching to do the process. For BarCamp, anybody can present. No pitching, no selling, but if you are passionate about a topic, specifically a tech topic, you want to come talk about web page development or social media or PHP programming or robotics, we'll give you a room for 40 minutes. Can't guarantee there's going to be people in there because there's 60 other sessions happening. But everyone from middle school kids through retirees are there. And you'll be one of 800 to 900 people. We feed you very well as long as you like caffeine and sugar. We are not gluten-free. Yes, Neil?
Has anyone presented or developed these ideas for our government to be more successful in what they're doing? Because,
Well, I mean, some governments try to be a little bit more agile, a little bit more responsive, but government likes big problems and long-term solutions, and they feel they can't focus on small solutions. So small businesses all get lumped into one category. A landscaping business and someone developing a software app are treated exactly the same. But do you really want government helping you out with that? I'm from government and I'm here to help. Not a good line.
I'm saying ignite government,
Well, I mean, Ignite is open to anybody, as long as you're not pitching or running for office.
So you don't know anyone who's actually going to government and saying, I'll help you reduce the cost of government?
Well, people do that all the time, and sometimes they get listened to, and sometimes they get dismissed, and shuffled off into a nice little corner, or say, you can sit on a committee, or if you join the Chamber of Commerce and write a big check, you will now have a voice in the community. There's lots of different ways you can do it. My way of doing it was showing up at Buddy Brew Coffee. Where'd Mark go? Did he leave?
He snuck out.
Okay. My way of doing it was showing up at Mark's Coffee, which was talking about his congressional campaign and a little bit about transit, and hijacking his video every week at Buddy Brew to talk about economic development and tech. And it took me a long time, but we did it. And we were able to change this local community and government's view of technology, because before we had those discussions, technology in this community was either Jabil and Tech Data, neither of which are tech companies, they're both logistics companies, or USF. So if we talked about innovation, we'd say, well, we've got USF. And there would be a period at the end of that sentence, and we would move on. We didn't talk about people developing software, or people that were doing hackathons and BarCamp and things like that were developing peer-to-peer level discussions about real technology, not stuff that's already in a box and you're just moving it from point A to point B. So you can impact it, you just have to be really, really patient, and I know you are.
The interesting thing is we have a small business administration, right? And we have a lot of people that will help small business. But who's helping government? I mean, do we have a small government administration that will help government be more successful?
Above my pay grade, I can't answer that. Nor do I want to spend a lot of time thinking about it because it makes my head hurt. Yes?
How do you feel about press releases now, the way that they're used? Because I kind of tend to feel like if people use those in business, it feels like they have to use it.
Yeah, I never want to feel like I have to use press releases. It really should be about something interesting or in preparation for an event that you're going to. But again, you have to ask, how am I going to connect with my audience? Does my audience receive or listen to that channel? Maybe not. I mean, my audience, depending on who they are, may be far more effectively reached through Twitter. And press releases, don't waste the paper. I mean, if you need to feel good about it, that's fine. But also, press releases, unless you send it out to the right publications, don't matter either. And when I got here, people would say, well, I can get you in the St. Pete Times. Like, that's not my audience. So I don't care. You have to discriminate against the channels that aren't going to work for you. You have to look at it and say, does my audience read this? Is it focused? Or is this just a waste of my time?
And I know I work for Hillsborough County and I'm government, but I'll answer to that question as well. And press releases.
You're here to help too?
Yes, I am here to help.
She is.
Okay, I'll be quiet on that. But anyway, speaking about press releases, something our communications department actually just walked in to have a meeting with one of my coworkers, but they no longer use the press release like they used to. Basically, their answer to the press release is to let people know of calendar dates. But you should use other means such as social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, whatever those social media outlets that you use to talk about the events and details or grand openings or those kind of things. But the press releases are now for calendar events, and that's pretty much it. So they're even, as government, being trained to do that.
I mean, some traditional press still accept them or still expects them. I know in government they still do it because the press that covers government, they're very document driven. Yes.
I know for celebrities, they use Twitter for all kinds of, that's what you see on ESPN. Hey, they released this on Twitter. But
Yeah.
getting back, Ken, to the events that you've been instrumental with Ignite Tampa Bay and BarCamp, just for anyone that has not been there, they are two of the best events for people to show up and meet other people in the community. And the crowdsourcing of BarCamp, anyone can present. And we've had friends that have showed up there and weren't planning on presenting, but they had a great presentation and their laptop got rave reviews on WordPress and cool
those
stuff.
are the best ones.
Yeah. And
Driven by passion, not
by
driven,
passion,
yeah.
they had no agenda. And Ignite Tampa Bay is just a lot of fun to be at I'm trying to work my schedule to be there, but it's just a lot of fun
Yeah, it is.
to be in that historic theater on top of it all.
So
And I'll second that.
be curious. Ask questions of yourself, of your environment. Yeah. That's it.
Awesome.
Have fun.